was having a discussion today with a friend of mine, Christopher, and we talked about the difference between being performative and being authentic. And I think it's super interesting because it is very difficult not to be performative in front of a camera. Like, even right now, I kind of feel like I have to put on a show because the camera's rolling. And that is why I think this will flop at the end of the day. There is too much of me trying to be something versus me just doing what I would naturally do, which is listen. So, um, when I do these monocasts, one of the big things is I like to focus on a particular topic. And today I want to focus on what does it mean to be performative and what does it mean to be authentic? Where is the difference between those two things? And I want to take a little bit of this conversation I had with Christopher. In his world, what he realized was that when he was taking a headshot of somebody, if he got them to think about something happy, that their micro expressions would kick, and they would be thinking about something happy, and it would capture that. And it's way better than getting in the front of the camera and saying, "All right, now everybody just say cheese," right? And cheese, and it's just fake, right? You could tell it's fake when they do it like that. So his method was just to have a conversation with the person and get them to think about different things. And as they're doing that, he's taking photos. And what ends up happening is a more authentic look. And I'm going to define authentic in a very not scientific way, but more quantitative way. So there are micro expressions that we have. Paul Ekman um, discovered this. Like, regardless of where you were in the world, you kind of had the same type of micro expressions. These micro expressions trigger or are perceived by our subconscious, and that's how we kind of know up front if we are going to trust somebody or not trust somebody, like within like 2 to 3 seconds of meeting them. Now, it's these micro expressions. Now, where do we see a lack of micro expressions and where we're like, oh, that just seems kind of awkward? In AI. So whenever we create like an AI twin, it copies our most performative performance. And so it is the most performative version of us. So that's a strike. And second, it's not thinking. It doesn't have micro expressions. So, like, when I think about Oreos, I think about one thing. When I think about my family, I think of it, I light up in a different way when I think about things I don't want to do. Right? Did you see it? Did you see it? Right? I'm thinking of things I don't want to do right now. And you could tell immediately that I'm not very happy about that. Now, AI doesn't share any of that with us. And so it's very hard to look authentic in AI. And with that gap between authenticity and ultra performance is what we call the uncanny valley, right? It's like, well, it looks real. I can't tell it's fake, but there's just something about it that just stink face, right? It's like, ugh, something about it we just don't like. It's that lack of actual micro expressions. And when we are subconsciously looking at things and perceiving the world, um, our consciousness, or the piece of us that we focus on, kind of filters out everything else. But the whole thing is being actually received and recorded. And that's kind of like where we get our like gut instincts from. Oh, I don't feel right about the situation. Well, probably because there's something you perceived in the environment that didn't seem quite right, didn't fit the pattern of safety. All right, so we talk about micro expressions, we talk about trust, we talk about authenticity, we talk about performance. So being performative in front of the camera, unless you're an actor or actress, which again, it's trained authenticity. So that's kind of like that's a whole new level. So unless we're doing that, we got to figure out where are our true authenticity sits. And so that's what the rest of this monocast is going to be about. It's going to be about me not being performative. And so if I'm not being performative, what do I look like? How do I talk? What are my micro expressions? Do I look real? Do I feel real? Are you connecting with me and are you being repelled by me? Because both should happen. There should be people out there who listen to what I'm saying. They should hear the tonation and they should go, one person should go, oh, I kind of like that guy. And another person, I should rub the wrong way. And they're like, oh, there's something. Now, that guy is being true to himself, but there is something like I don't like him. Not because he's being performative, but because I'm not aligned to whoever that person is. And so we should always be repelling and attracting the right and the wrong people into our life, because that's kind of what happens when we interact in an authentic way. So if I'm doing that, then I'm winning, right? I'm winning the game today, right? If you're listening to my voice or you're watching this video and you're understanding that, oh wow, like he is saying real things, he looks real, he's being authentic. All right. So what does that mean today, and how do I prove that I'm being authentic versus being performative? I think this is very difficult, and that's why I'm kind of doing this today. I want to tell you some things. So I had misophonia. Misophonia is basically audio triggered brain scratching from my PTSD. So I got PTSD. So PTSD and the misophonia kind of sits in there as a trigger. One of the things that trigger me is repetitive noises. Like, I don't know if you can hear it in the sound. Hopefully not. Hopefully this thing gets filtered out. But I hear a lawnmower in my backyard or near me. It's somewhere that way out the window. It's driving me nuts, right? It's absolutely, I feel it vibrating through the floor, and I want to do nothing more than go out the door and yell at the person who is doing, what time is it? Freaking 8 o'clock at night, sun is setting, and they're out there doing their freaking yard. What the? Seriously, right? Like, seriously, why? Okay, I need to calm down. It's going to be okay. Maybe. But this is the thing, right? I want to reveal that. I wanted to show you. I'm trying to be more revealing, right? I'm trying to be more true to the way I am when I just around people who I'm talking about. So that's another thing. Right now, I am envisioning my closest friends. So I have a few close friends, and when I am doing these videos, I'm not trying to think about them. I don't know. Correction. I am trying to think about that. I'm not trying to think about the audience that's actually listening to this, because that is going to create a performance out of me and not the authenticity that we're shooting for. See? Right? What else? All right, so we need a topic, right? I'm not going to sit here and just like ramble about that, but I do want to make the point, as I close out this particular segment, that we will be performative naturally whenever times the camera is turned on. But it is the times in which we can ignore the camera and we can just talk from our true voice, from our true ideas, without trying to filter out everything and worry about, oh man, did that sound right? Do I look good? Do I not look good? When we can stop doing that and we allow our more authentic voice to come through, what will happen is, again, we will attract the people into our lives that need to be there and hopefully repel those that don't. All right, so I'm going to close this segment on that. And I actually have a neat little thing to do that with. So we're going to use, all right, we're going to transition out. All right. So what's next? So the next thing we're going to talk about today in today's monocast is how to make lots of money. Because I think that's important, right? We're going to talk about making lots of money. What does that mean to be making lots of money? and what is a lot, what is money. We'll break that down. And we're going to talk about paths to make it happen and paths not to make it happen. So there's some rules that I want to share with you. And if you listen, maybe it'll be helpful. First rule is not about how much money you make. It's about how you spend the monies that you have. It's always about the spending piece. The spending piece will always outweigh now, right? You can't divide by zero. And I understand that. And if you're in a space where you've controlled your spending down to the penny, and you've made the decisions that, hey, I've done all the things, I have controlled the spending, then this piece of advice you have already succeeded at. But for the rest of us, control the spending, and then you can move on to the second part, which would be more relevant to people that are already controlling their spending. So rule 1, get your spending under control. Only spend money on the things you actually need. If you can, you want to get it down to where you're at a 50% ratio of income to expense. And if your expenses reach 50% of your income, then you have 50% of discretionary income to make your money work for you, to the point to where your money should work enough to where it is 100% of the income coming in, and now you no longer have to work for it. That's the ultimate goal, and that is super difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that is the goal, right? You got to know where you're going, right? Even before you set out on the journey. And so that's the goal. So rule 1, what you spend matters way more than how much you make. Rule 2, 50% rule, which is get down to 50% where your income versus expenses. This way you have that much money for discretionary, so that discretionary income can then earn money for you. And I know what you're thinking. That's effing impossible. It is not impossible. It's difficult, but not impossible. And this is a sequence. So if you haven't gotten your money under control, getting to 50% is going to be impossible. It's going to feel impossible. So first step, get your money under control. Second step, your goal is to get to 50%. Now we're going to talk about 3. How do we get to 50%? Now, okay. Talk about the things everybody wants to talk about, which is increasing income. And I will say this, that unless you have the first 2 nailed down, which is control and goal, the third part will never matter, because you can make $1 zillion every month. It won't matter, because these other 2 factors will destroy that money as it comes in. So it's important that those are fixed first. So let's talk about number 3. How do we make more money, right? Well, how do we increase the top line? Well, we need more streams of income. I know people are like, oh, we need more streams. What does that mean, more streams? It means, let me rephrase this. You need more drips, right? And a drip is, well, by itself, doesn't seem all great. It's like, that's not a lot of money. That's what you're going to think. It's a drip. But what's important about drips is that what you want to do is build a system that gets you the drip without any additional work after you've built the system. Scale your systems. You have infinite number of opportunities to build systems. Drips turns into rivers very, very quickly. Right? One raindrop is no big deal. A rainstorm will flood an area. And that's kind of how you have to think about this. It's people get caught up into like the one deal or the one job or the one thing, and this is what's going to solve all their problems. I'm just going to win the lotto or whatever. No, that's yes, it might, right? But that's less than 1%. So the 75% majority, right, on the bell curve, who that is accessible to you right now, is what I call the artisan economy. And the artisan economy is this. You are hanging a shingle out on your doorway saying, I am good at X. And your neighbors go, well, I'm good at Y. And so you and your neighbor then go, well, I will do X for you, you do Y for me. and that reduces your expenses, which increases your top line, right? So that is one way to think about this. But also that you're, as an artisan, you're not trying to build a zillion widgets or serve 1 million people. You're trying to serve 10, right? Like, can you make a thing that somebody would pay decent money for, right? Because you made it with your hands? Or can you build a system or build a thing where 100 people would pay a very little bit to have? If you could just, like, the equation works either way. And depending on your talents and interests and what you decide to do and how you decide to do it, it's your journey, man. Like, you choose whatever it is you want to do. You choose. It's all on you to figure that out for you. There is a near infinite way to make money, but there's only a few ways for you to make money. And I have this whole theory about spirit, about how our spirit shines through our activities. And so there's some things that, like, I can't do. I am a terrible handyman. I am horrible. I have very little mechanical skills. And I'm very uncoordinated. And so if you want me to be a handyman, to hang up stuff, we're going to be in for a ride. That is probably one of the least ways for me, at least efficient ways for me to try to earn extra dollars. Now, there's other ways. I happen to be personally very good at using AI as an application layer. I'm very good at making AI work for me. And when people want to be like, hey, can you show me how to use AI better, aka what we call AI literacy today, I'm actually pretty good at that. Then I can create courses and create PDFs. I can do one-to-ones, right? Just a little bit of a thing there where I can trade something that I'm actually good at and help somebody who wants to get better at it. Now, that's just a drip, though. That is not that's not the whole deal. And I think that's where we get caught up. It's like, oh man, I got so many things. Well, here's an example. This video right now, which hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. Well, YouTube is a drip, right? So this is just another drip. Or if it gets enough views, and again, back to the first segment, it's super authentic and super useful, people will be like, oh, wow, that was actually kind of a useful little monocast. It talks about a couple different random things in there, but oh, wow, that worked out. That's my goal, right, in this. Because I'm going to post it to my channel, and this is me talking about some key items. So there. So in the money making segment, there's 3 things: control, goal, and drip. If you can remember that, that is how you're going to get wealthy. That's how you're going to have financial security. And all the magic of that comes into the how. Like, how do you do those 3 things? How do you make those decisions? What are the drips that you can activate in your life? Because again, they all work, but you got to find the ones that work for you. And that might take a little bit of experimentation, but it can be done. There's no excuses. Absolutely can be done. So we're going to end this segment on that, and we're going to do one more segment today. All right. Now we're going into the 3rd segment of this monocast. And the thing that I would love to talk about is decisions. I know, the most boring thing in the universe. Well, I'm going to nerd out because I love talking about decisions. And so, what are decisions? And actually, I really today I want to talk about how do you make the best decision under the most intense environment. I want to share a small story. I was in Iraq. I was getting fired upon. My mind and my body reacted in a particular way. In that moment, I had to make a decision. And if I didn't make the decision, a decision was going to be made regardless. And because a no decision is a decision. And the no decision line is, I would have probably have eaten a couple bullets. And so, in that particular scenario, not making a decision meant getting a little bit of lead poisoning. And so I had to make a decision in an environment, in a moment in which my body and my mind were locked up. How did I do that? That's what I'm going to tell you. We need, if you're going to be a high performance decision maker, you need to train under pressure. That's the only way to do it, is to train under pressure. That means that at your normal state, and when you're calm, cool, collected, life is good type of moments, you're going to make the best decisions early in the morning. Just had your coffee and your fruit for breakfast, oatmeal, you're ready to rock and roll. Maybe you weren't you worked out in the morning, you're energized. That's the best time to make the best decisions. Waiting until Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, absolutely the worst time to make a decision. All right. So then, what we need to do is to increase our capabilities to make decisions under pressure, is that we need to slowly have controlled environments in which we make decisions deliberately when under pressure. How do we do that? Well, if your normal environment's cool, calm, and collected, then know that you have a decision to make that's not too critical, because you don't want to make, catastrophic level decisions under stress, but do put yourself in a stressful situation and make the decision. It could be you're going to go for a run, and during one of the pieces of that run, when you're out of breath and you're running real hard, you're going to think about the decision you have to make, and by the end of the sprint, you're going to have a decision made. And what you will feel in that process is that controlled intensity. That's an example. I like the working out controlled intensity, because it is very physical, and under physical, your body is a big distraction, right? You'd be like, I can't even think about that right now. Aha, perfect. That's exactly the zone where you need to get to practice making more intense decisions under intensity. How did I be able to make this decision before? Was the environment at first was chill. There were no issues. And then a small event happened. And then after that, it would be every so frequently, there would be some gunfire. And then that slowly increased to more frequently until I had to keep a head on a swivel and know whether or not it was safe to even walk to work, because there could just be random bullets landing, in the area. And so that environment for me was what ramped me up, and it's also probably why I have PTSD, part of it. But in a corporate environment, I don't recommend going to places to go get shot at. That's not probably the best use of your time. But getting involved in situations where there's more intensity, and then trying to make a decision in those controlled environments, and then reflecting upon how difficult that was, will do you miles of good, because you begin to train the mind inside those environments. And because at the time when this event that I'm talking about happened for me, I was able to assess the situation and near reflexively take cover and prevent somebody else from walking into fire, because they were not paying attention. That only happened because that the environment itself had slowly ramped up over a short period of time, allowing me time to adjust and adapt the whole way through. So that's the way you do it, right? That is the way you make those types of decisions. If you're not used to making high pressure decisions where there's a lot riding on it, and in an environment that there's a little bit of chaos happening, and things are happening around you, like maybe like a construction site, for instance, where you're not making the right decision fast enough, somebody could actually like get crushed. Like that type of decision making opportunity, if you will only be done by people who have experience in those environments, who are used to making decisions in those environments. It's not that they're smarter, they're literally more, their brain is literally trained to operate under those conditions. And that's why I think that's important. So whatever your conditions, whatever your situation, if you're making the best decisions you can, excellent. If you feel like, oh wow, I might need to amp this up a little bit because I want to make better decisions, especially when things get more serious, because I don't want to fold under pressure, right? You heard that, right? This guy is great whenever things are great, but when things get intense, it folds under pressure. And who wants to be that guy? Well, you don't just instantly walk out into the field, right? Like that. No, you gotta train for that moment. And so if your normal experiences are where you are not in those intense environments, then it would behoove you to find opportunities to put yourself in more intense environments and still be able to make some decisions, activate your decision process in those environments, so you can train up those muscles and for those purposes. All right, I think that's all I'm going to talk about today. We've covered 3 segments, and this is in the last segment. Just know that high stake, intense environments are required to make high stake, intense decisions, and you got to train to it. You're not born into it. All right, so there's my 3 segments for today. I hope you enjoyed today's little short monocast, and with that, I really hope that this is what we're going to do now and then. I give myself a little happy claps. And with that, you guys have a fantastic